Welcome to our explainer. When you hear Ethereum, you might just think it's another cryptocurrency, kind of like Bitcoin. But it's so much more than that. Ethereum takes that core blockchain idea and gives it a genuine superpower, the ability to actually run code.
Think about it this way. Bitcoin was a breakthrough, right? It proved we could have secure, decentralized digital money. But at the end of the day, that money is just an entry in a ledger. It sits there. Ethereum's big question was, what if you could give that money instructions? What if you could attach rules and logic to it, telling it exactly what to do and when to do it, all without needing a bank or a lawyer or any middleman? That simple question kicked off a whole new revolution.
And this idea of programmable money is really the heart of it all. It's what transforms Ethereum from just another currency into something way more ambitious, a platform where you can build almost anything you can think of in a totally decentralized way.
So let's really break down the difference here. Bitcoin is an absolute masterpiece, but it was designed for one specific job, being peer-to-peer electronic cash. Ethereum, on the other hand, was built from the ground up to be a decentralized world computer. It doesn't just keep track of who owns what. It actually executes code. This is why people call it Blockchain 2.0.
So how does it do this? Well, through something called a smart contract. Now, if you're familiar with relational databases, this analogy might click for you. You can almost think of a smart contract like a decentralized stored procedure. It's a piece of code that lives on the blockchain, and it automatically runs its functions when certain conditions are met. The huge difference, though, is that its execution is guaranteed and verified by the entire global network, not just by one server admin. Okay, so that leads to a pretty obvious question. How in the world can this world computer run code from thousands of different applications all at the same time? Well, it needs a standardized environment to run everything in, which brings us to the engine that powers the whole thing. And that engine is the Ethereum Virtual Machine, or the EVM. The best way to think about it is as the network's global processor. You've got thousands of computers all over the world, but they're all running this one single shared virtual machine. So when a smart contract runs, every single one of those computers runs the exact same calculation, which guarantees they all agree on the result. It's this shared engine that makes the whole thing work.
Now, you'll hear this term Turing complete thrown around a lot. And honestly, in simple terms, all it really means is that the EVM can run any program you can think of, just like a normal computer can. It can handle complex logic, it can do loops, it can do all sorts of calculations. And that's exactly what developers need to build really powerful applications.
But hang on, being Turing complete creates a massive challenge. It's a famous computer science problem called the halting problem. If you can run any program, that means you can also run a program that never ever stops, a classic infinite loop. So how do you stop one bad actor from submitting a contract that just runs forever, sucking up all the network's resources, and grinding this world computer to a halt?
And this is where the design of Ethereum is just brilliant. The solution isn't purely technical, it's economic. You see, every single computational step on the network has a cost. You have to pay for the fuel to run the machine.
So first, you've got Ether, or ETH. Yes, it's a cryptocurrency you can trade, but more importantly, it's the native currency you need to pay for things on the network. You use ETH to pay transaction fees, and that money goes to the people who secure the blockchain. Think of ETH as the lifeblood of the Ethereum economy. But here's the twist. Computation isn't priced directly in Ether. Instead, it's measured in something called gas. Gas is like a universal unit for measuring computational work. A really simple addition might cost 3 gas, but writing something to storage could cost 20,000 gas. This system is super clever because it separates the cost of the work from the ever-changing market price of ETH. And here's how that all solves our infinite loop problem. When you send a transaction, you set what's called a gas limit, basically the maximum amount you're willing to spend. As your code runs, it eats up gas. If it finishes with gas to spare, you get a refund. But, and this is the key part, if it runs out of gas, the operation just stops. It fails, everything reverts, but you still have to pay for the work that was done. This simple rule makes running infinite loops or spamming the network incredibly expensive, so nobody does it. So, we have the computer and we have its fuel. But who or what is actually using all this? Well, Ethereum has 2 very distinct types of accounts that can interact with the network. First, you've got externally owned accounts, or EOAs. These are the accounts that you and I use. They are controlled by a private key, your secret password, and they are the only kind of account that can actually kick off a transaction. Then you have contract accounts. These are different. They're controlled by the code inside them, the smart contract itself. They can't start anything on their own. They can only react when an EOA or another contract sends them a message.
All right, for our final piece, let's look at a really crucial innovation deep in the protocol that keeps the network running both fast and securely.
You see, Ethereum is much faster than Bitcoin. It produces a new block roughly every 15 seconds. Now, this speed is great for users, but it creates a specific kind of problem: stale blocks. This happens when two miners solve a block at almost the exact same time. The network can only accept one of them, which means the other one becomes stale. All that work and energy is just wasted. This tends to hurt smaller miners more, which can slowly push the network towards centralization. Ethereum's solution to this is just so elegant. It's called the Ghost Protocol. Instead of just throwing those stale blocks away, the protocol incorporates them into the main chain as uncles. What's more, miners actually get rewarded for finding these uncles and for including them in new blocks. So this brilliantly repurposes what would have been wasted energy, it adds to the security of the main chain, and it helps smaller miners stay competitive. It's a win-win-win for decentralization.
And that really brings us to the final thought here. When you put all these pieces together, what you have is the toolkit for a world computer that can run agreements automatically, transparently, and without any central authority. We're talking about things like insurance, supply chains, even voting systems. So it makes you think, what's one process in our world today that you really wish could just run on its own without a middleman getting in the way?
If you enjoyed this explainer and learned something new, do us a favor and hit that like button, share it, and subscribe for more deep dives into complex topics just like this one. Thanks for watching.